baseball lifestyle. It's my lifestyle.
I mean, when I have my arm sleeve done that is mainly Star Wars characters, then I will be always rocking the Star Wars.
Wicked. Is your baseball lifestyle tattoo going to be Star Wars themed?
No.
That'd be cool.
I don't know exactly which. I would like to do a circle logo of some kind, but we'll see what it comes down to.
Yeah, do the cross bats logo, but with lightsabers.
Interesting. That's interesting. Bill, would you get a BL tattoo?
No.
Not even if the entire team
Okay,
got
hold on.
it?
So who was involved in this conversation?
Tristan was talking about the other day how bad he wants to get a tattoo, and he was talking about getting a ice cream cone.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I needed to make sure that this was happening.
So he wanted an ice cream cone or a Charizard. So if we did the ice cream cone, yes, Bill, those are completely different things. If he did the ice cream cone, it would be the frozen ropes, which turned into a conversation of all of us getting team tattoos.
No.
I was not involved in those conversations.
No. Survey says.
Well, Gerson, you had a flight issue that day, so that might have
Gotcha. This is what happens when I'm not here.
Nobody has worse flight history than you.
You thought I was joking when
No.
our flight got delayed.
It's not just me thinking it was you. Now I was wondering when our plane was feeling like it was going to crash. That was also because of you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not great.
Yeah.
But we made it. I got back here.
You know what's great about being back here today, though?
What is so great, Dennis? Tell me.
It's opening day.
Opening day.
It is opening day. Woo! We finally made it. Very exciting. Long awaited. I guess we're kind of just a week late in all reality, so not too bad.
And it wouldn't be opening day if the Mets didn't already have news and Jacob DeGrom not pitching since we did our predictions. Absolutely fantastic.
I just want to say that you also made jokes about me being scared that I was going to...
No, but like you saying that, like him getting hurt now, bellies my point.
Yeah.
The Mets are absolutely going to tear through the division because this is the proof. Because this is the most lucky they've been, and I can't imagine how long. So he has a minor bone issue in a otherwise not like that's not going to break on him even if he were to continue to pitch with it. So we're going to get a refreshed version of DeGrom who will make his 25 starts plus through the end of the season instead of missing the midpoint when it's super imperative that he's there. I couldn't ask for more. And this is why, again, the Mets are going to win. Everybody else out here fucking up. They're not having their injuries now. They're going to have their injuries later. Mets are taking them now. That World Series, it's easy.
The 2022 opening day starter is going to be a great trivia question like 10 years from now.
When they're like World Series, they won 120 games, and you're like, how did it get there? And it was like Tyler McGill won the Cy Young Award that year.
So are we changing our pick?
Oh, no, I'm not changing my pick.
We're sticking with DeGrom?
So that's also, I saw it in the show notes. First off, no change of fucking anything.
Okay, cool.
The next time we get to make any adjustments to this is All-Star game.
Yep.
It's during the break.
Yep.
You ride or die with your picks right now. You can't change.
Cool, that's fine. I was just putting it out there because, of course, as we unanimously chose Jacob DeGrom, and he's not pitching on opening day, and it was just like naturally.
But that's why I think he's still going to win.
Okay, that's fine. Listen, honestly, as much as I just kind of wanted to put it in there for conversation, if he is coming back in a reasonable amount of time, they said like they're shutting him down for a month, and then he's going to start throwing again. Is that what I? Yeah. Is that correct? Okay, cool. So if that's the case,
he's already 10 days in, so he's got 2.5 weeks left.
Right. So at that point, it's like, all right, great. So he'll be ready to roll in May when it's nice and warm, and he'll be good. And hopefully everyone else on our team is healthy, and we'll be ready to rock.
He's not even. It's not even just like part of May. It's
like the entirety of May.
Yeah.
Yep. So glorious.
Now, so if you look at like most of the guys in the league, like the most games started last season was tied by a number of different people, but it was 33 starts. The reality for me is DeGrom's going to end up missing 3 starts. That's it.
Yep.
That's what it's going to work out to be.
And he'll make 3 starts in the postseason.
So but then that means to me, right? Like he still can make 30 starts. That's why I'm not making any changes for my Cy Young pick. Like I I see no reason to.
Perfect.
He's going to make more than enough to be qualified for it, and he's going to have a 1 ERA.
It's interesting that you said that, too, of like they'll have injuries later instead of now. Two teams who we have talked about as like being potential contenders, Astros and the Red Sox, both don't start this season with their aces. Chris Sale's on the 60-day DL with a rib issue, which, interestingly enough, he had it in the offseason, but because he didn't have team doctor access because of the lockout, wasn't treated, and then it rolled over into now he's out for 2 months.
That's what's crazy to me is like he couldn't go to any doctor to get this thing treated.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Like, you couldn't even get a recommendation.
Spiteful.
Give me James Andrews. Like, nobody
Wasn't allowed to go.
Right. I guess so.
Can't go to the team doctor.
And the other guy is Lance McCullers, who had a little bit of a forearm issue in the postseason last year. Still kind of dealing with that.
Didn't I see Lance Lynn is also a little?
Lance Lynn also, yes, he has a tear in his knee, and he's out minimum 4
Yeah.
weeks.
So again, but
Right, we're talking about
how
all these-
could the Mets be more lucky? Honestly,
So, yeah.
a little stress reaction in the scapula, no problem. Easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. But, of course, the Mets have to steal headlines before anything even gets going.
Yes, naturally. And then other big news, Bobby Witt, Julio Rodriguez, and Spencer Torkelson will all be on the opening day roster. Love it.
Yeah, I love it. Again, I think we go back last week and we were all talking about who we thought was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't even realized how mega of a spring training Bobby had even had.
Yeah, he's destroying.
His OPS in the spring was 1,200.
Yeah, so that was kind of the thing, was like, all right, how do you not put him on the team?
He's going to be an absolute monster.
Yeah. Yeah, so super
Monster.
pumped for them and excited to see how they do. Julio Rodriguez is also playing pretty solid, so definitely going to be an interesting year. And then other big news this week, Jose Ramirez got the extension he was looking for from the Cleveland Guardians. Bill is stepping out briefly. I think it was good. I know there was a lot of questions last week if there was going to be a trade for Jose. The Blue Jays were in on him. The Padres were in on him big time. And I think that trade was going to happen almost immediately if they couldn't figure out the extension, but they did. And from what I understand, he really wanted to stay in Cleveland. So good for the Indians. They got their guy. It
Guardians.
Guardians. You're right. They got their guy. They're keeping him there, and I think he was one of their big core pieces. So losing him would have set them back dramatically.
Yeah, it lets me know that they're done with like the purge.
Yeah.
Right. Like
yes.
that was kind of one of those things that was like on the border of like, do they trade? Are they going to end up trading Bieber? Are they going to end up trading Ramirez? Are they going to move on? Are they going to reshape this roster?
Yep.
But no, it looks like, hey, we did what we needed to do. We've reset, reloaded. We got it all over with in 1 year. Now we're going to do the little things that we need to put down the foundation and then hope our young guys progress.
Yep.
Which I love.
Yep. Exactly. And I think they have a nice little core there now where they can kind of start being more competitive. Their pitching staff has the potential to be very solid. I think the AL Central is always kind of a question mark, but I think the Guardians will be more competitive than people think. And it'll be exciting. Also, big trades in the AL Central. The Twins today just moved Taylor Rogers, and Brent Rooker to the Padres for Chris Paddock and Emilio Pagan. The Padres have been trying to move Paddock for a little bit now.
Yep, almost to the Mets.
Almost to the Mets for Dom Smith, which I don't think anyone really wanted. What was your thought on that?
I think it ended up being a situation where the Padres reached out to the Mets, and the Mets took the phone call and were willing to kind of have a conversation.
Yeah.
And agents released that the Mets were doing it. And they tried to make it that there was New York pressure to get a deal done. But then most of the fan base was like, this looks gross.
Yep.
Don't do this. So I don't know how far that even ended up getting. I think it ended up being a way that they were trying to get more out of other teams.
Yes. And I think it was at the time when DeGrom's injury had just come out, and it was like, oh, yes, the New York pressure of we need to add a starter or whatever. But I don't really think that's the case, and obviously the Mets didn't think either, and obviously Dom Smith had a really solid spring training, and I think he's primed to have a good season, so it wouldn't have made much sense for me.
Question is, though, for Dom, where's he playing?
That is the question. DH? But, no, I don't know. It's questionable.
Because my bigger
pull up the opening day.
My bigger
lineup.
question at this point, right, with Dom Smith is just, is he the DH? Is he the left fielder? because they've been playing. They're thinking about playing Nimmo in center field, right?
So I have the depth chart up now, and it looks like he is second on first base. He's second at left field, and he's second at DH.
Right. Which is kind of like that slippery slope of what do you do with Dom Smith? Right? Mm-hmm. Like, with everything that you just said, is Dom Smith going to play every single day? He's just going to happen to play every single day at 3 different spots.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of their hope, that they can utilize him in a bunch of different ways and then kind of minimize injuries and all that stuff. Like, obviously, Robbie Cano's not going to play every day, but he's an injury risk. And we'd rather have, like, his bat actually looked pretty decent in spring training, so I think they want to at least see what they have.
We're talking about Robbie?
Yeah.
Listen, Robbie looked great, but in 13 games, Dom Smith had a 1377 OPS.
Right.
This spring.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's hard
I don't care who looks good. Dom Smith, his last 2 healthy seasons, which was 2020 and this season, he looks like that guy that we thought he was going to be last year when we were like, yo, the Mets are going to be filthy because you got Conforto, you got him, you got Lindor, and then everything kind of fell apart for every single person who exists.
Yep.
That's why I stand by my Mets are going to win it all mantra is they have got too much talent. You got a guy like Dom Smith who would start for 85% of the teams in the league, and
I think that's what the Padres were thinking
up.
about as well. Is like they have Hosmer, who's fine, they have Luke Voigt, who's fine, but Dom Smith could come in and be a better version of those guys, and I saw what they were trying to do. But I'm glad the Mets didn't do that because I think
super happy.
I think Dom could potentially like go off, and then the Mets have no choice but to play him all the time, which would create just an interesting dynamic with the situation they have right now.
Yep.
Sticking in the East for a second, I want to talk about this because I thought it was a very interesting little tidbit. The AL East win projections came out from Fangraphs, and they have the Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, and Red Sox at 88 and 74. Which, so Dennis immediately was like, no, somebody in there's going to have 95 plus wins, right?
Yeah.
And I remember last year when the projections came out, we had a conversation, and it was the Braves, I think, were set up at like 94, and the Mets were at, call it 90, I think, somewhere around there. And we were like, no, I don't think this is right. It's going to be a bloodbath. The Braves ended up with 88 and 74.
Yeah.
And then everybody else was destroyed. And I think it's the same situation of that division is going to be a bloodbath, and somebody's going to come out with 88 and 74.
Somebody will survive the bloodbath
Yes.
and end up having a better record. I think.
Yep.
I think, again, when you look at last year, the Phillies were 82 and 80, but they got super hot at the end and made it look better than it was. The Mets were 77 and 85, and I feel like they didn't win a game in the second half.
Yes.
Like,
They finished, I think, 11 back, and they were at some point 10 up. So, yes, it was
I
substantial.
think putting 88 and 74 for 4 different teams in the same division is already silly.
Well,
Yes.
they all had over 90 wins last season in that division.
But just to project that that's what's going to happen, to me, is silly because you have to choose a clear one. You have to choose somebody.
Yes.
And again, to me, the biggest problem that the Yankees have is they have the worst pitching.
Yep.
And if they have the worst pitching, everybody in that division can hit to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and Toronto can absolutely blast the ball. So I don't know how. My thing with the Yankees is they're going to be so boom or bust that I challenge that they're going to be much better than like an 85 win team, unless they figure out something else in their starting rotation.
Yeah, and I have to assume if they are going to make any kind of moves, it will be in that category. But yes, I did think it was a bit odd that there was not more of definition. But I do get why, like, you can look at all those teams and say, all right, they both mash. Like, what are we? It's very evenly matched as far as the lineups go. Everybody can hit, and I think it'll be like a super competitive division. I just don't know. I think we all kind of agree that Toronto will be the one to come out of it. But potentially it could be the Rays, potentially it could be the Yankees. It doesn't matter. But I do think of those 4 teams, the Yankees will be the easiest one to bust because of their pitching. But I did think it was interesting that everyone else also agreed that there was a lot of equal lineups and kind of just the matchups.
Yeah, again, I think it's a bloodbath division.
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
That's why I got what they were doing there, because it felt like the same way.
For sure. So
way we looked at the East last year.
Dennis, what did the NL East come at? Because again, we were talking about our thoughts on the division.
The NL East last year, the Braves had 88 wins.
No, what's the projection for this upcoming year?
Oh, I'll look that
I
up.
see the East win projections here. I'd love to know what the NL East, because I would say that those two divisions is the most like unknown. I think
Which site did you use, Gers?
It was Fangraphs.
Fangraphs coming through with the clutch. While he's looking that up, what's your thoughts on the new sign relaying technology for the catcher and the pitcher?
I know we talked about this earlier. It's like a potential thing. I was kind of surprised that it's made its way so fast, but I know that it's MLB's way of putting a Band-Aid on all the cheating they've had to deal with. It's fine at this point. Like, I understand the functionality of it. Personally, I just liked and we've talked about this, like I'm kind of just like a idealist of, I like the natural way of baseball has been in the past, and just using signs and whatever, and having to out chess the other person of how to make sure they don't know what it is. But I understand the functionality. Obviously, there's cameras and different things now that have been incorporated where teams are using them. Did you see Carlos Beltran's interview?
I heard about Carlos Beltran's interview. The big takeaway I heard him say was there will always be like a stain on that World Series.
Yes, there will be a stain, but also he said that everyone knew it was happening, and if they had been told to stop, they would have. But because it was working and no one was saying stop, why would they have?
Yeah.
Which fair.
Facts.
I guess if it's working, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting, like that interview came out like right as this was announced, so it was like,
yeah,
I have to assume that there was a lot of conversation about it. But I think it's good, whatever, it'll make it, I'm sure it'll speed the game up a little bit and takes away the cheating to some degree. I know not every team's using it.
I think it's going to end up being more of a hassle than a quality thing in the beginning, just because nobody's going to know how to use it well. It's not going to be as well practiced as throwing up signs and right. That relationship and what that is. For speed and quickness of what it's going to be, I doubt guys use it. Big game situations, maybe guys do it.
Sure.
If there's guys on base and it's like we need to get this out and we get the bases loaded 2 outs, like I can't have anybody stealing a sign right now. Sure, go ahead, do your thing. But the other good thing about it is I think when you have your backup catcher who doesn't know maybe what he wants to, like what he's trying to say to the pitcher, if we're crossing up signs, we don't know exactly, like no more cross-ups. Like, hey, press the button. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's also always that problem with like relievers coming in and kind of not knowing whatever and the signs and the which indicator and what it just makes it simplifies
Correct.
it all. So
Correct.
I see the functionality of it and great. I think there's ways to improve the game that without like massively changing it. Like I know we've talked about that they've tried to put together some different rules and stuff.
What do we got, D?
So I have different numbers than what Gerson was saying, so it could have updated since then.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I guess we'll start AL East projections. Blue Jays are at top, 92-70. Yankees would be second, 91-71. Red Sox, 87-75. And Rays would be 85-77.
Wow.
So that must have just updated.
Wow.
The NL East, they have the Braves winning 93 games, Mets winning 89, Phillies winning 88, and Marlins winning 83.
So that actually ends up being just as much of a bloodbath as the AL East. So if you're an East fan, just go to any park you want to on any given day and watch bloodbaths. Just watch it be a absolute terrifying experience to watch
statistically
baseball.
Speaking, in May, if you're watching an NL East game, more than likely you can get a Cy Young contender against another Cy Young contender.
And you're going to see home runs. You get the DH now. Mm-hmm. The world is a great place.
Yes. And speaking of home runs, I feel like, and we had kind of talked about this after the episode last week, we didn't talk about Shohei Ohtani enough.
No, we didn't really bring up Shohei because I think – so I've said in passing on the show recently, I think this season will be better than last season's for Ohtani. Mm-hmm. Mostly because I think he has more protection than he had all of last year. Last year he was really, for a lot of it, doing it himself. Walsh with some protection. Having Trout in the lineup is going to be so much of a table setter for him because you can't walk him. Right? And if you throw him junk, my only hope is he lays off more of the junk out of the zone. because he's able to stay more patient. And his hit tool is incredible.
Yep.
Right? So the downside is when you have a guy whose hit tool is so incredible, he thinks he can hit everything. He stretches his own zone. With if Trout gets on base 50% of the time, like you're now in a situation where he could steal second. Like, so you can't throw a pass ball past him because he's moving, he's quick. So you're gonna have to throw more fastballs. Ohtani
Eats fastballs.
crush that.
Yep.
I think Ohtani is in the Cy Young award conversation because he was dominant in the second half.
Yes.
And I think he's gonna hit close to 50 home runs.
Yep. That's kind of why I wanted
Ohtani Watch is back on.
Ohtani Watch is absolutely back on, and I think even more prevalent this year because we know what he can do for real, and it's like, yes, I wanna keep an eye on it constantly because watching his second half on the mound last year, he turned it up and he found his consistency. I think was his main problem in the first half, and second half he was lights out, filthy, like under 2 ERA for a lot of it. And then yes, his hit tool is ridiculous. He's gonna have another year under his belt of learning and getting better, and yeah, I think he's gonna. You know what triggered me thinking about this was that the interview with Mike, who is it? The Mad Dog on ESPN.
Okay.
And I forget who the lady was, but she said that he is not the number one player because he's a pitcher. And I was just like, and the majority of the baseball world was also like, that is a ridiculous take. He is doing MVP numbers on both sides of the ball. So why? So I was kind of just like, all right, we need to keep emphasizing Ohtani because he is going to keep building on it, and it's going to be ridiculous.
So we talked about it. Like, I don't think we have a good idea of how good he really is because he wasn't able to do his best work at the same time.
Right. Yep.
But his first half, he batted .279 with a .364 on base percentage and a .698 slugging percentage for a 1,062 OPS. Right?
Yep.
So let's assume he's 1,000 OPS person in the second half last year. Right? He ended up having roughly the same amount of plate appearances. He had about 50 less. Right? So he had 50 less total plate appearances. But he had 33 home runs in the first half and only 13 in the second. With that same OPS, he hits close to 23, 24. We're talking that last year Ohtani comes up and is approaching 60 home runs. If he's that player, while also being the pitcher he was in the second half. Now again, the chances of all of this happening are slim to none.
Yep.
But in the second half, Ohtani, his I'm looking for his game. 2.84 ERA in 10 starts.
In the second half?
In the second half. Like, and he had a below 1 whip. But his strikeouts actually went down because he was he was doing so much. But he finished 9-2 as a pitcher last year.
But you know what it is? I think more
just because he had to come out of the game sometimes.
Right. And what I think more it is in terms of his strikeouts was that he was trying to do too much striking out, and it was like, okay, I'll just be economical and get out, so that's going to get me more wins.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he has a sub-3 ERA.
So if he has a sub-3 ERA and he hits 60 home runs and he bats 280, it's stupid. Guys, we're going to be having this same conversation again. I think the excitement won't be there because people will be like, okay, we've seen it before. It's like LeBron. LeBron probably should have like 11 MVPs, but people got bored. They were like, yeah, we've seen this before, and yeah, you are the best player, but like you also have too many now, and if you get any more, you'll have more than Jordan, so we can't let you do that. So like they just
look for something different,
we'll just
cause. Yeah,
he's gonna this season, and it's one of the seasons where he's like the team he plays on was bad, but like LeBron's gonna lead the league in scoring, and he's 37 years old. And like you're telling me that this guy only has 3 or 4 MVPs. Stop. And, like, it's the same thing. Ohtani's going to do this year. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, we'll give you another MVP because, yeah, you're the best player.
Mm-hmm.
But next year, we're going to choose somebody else because it's more exciting to choose other people.
Right.
And not because he's not the GOAT. And I think we all got lulled into that. Because I will say the best hitter in the league by far, though, is Soto.
Yep.
And I think he's a guy who, if his second half is his full season, he's going to do some things that we haven't seen since Barry was making his run in the mid-2000s. Because he finished in a down year last year, batting .313 with 29 home runs, did Soto.
Yep.
Like, what? So, I think Ohtani Watch, I also want to throw Soto into the Soto
You want to do a
Watch.
Soto watch?
Yeah, because I think I would love to see, like, a home run competition kind of open up
Yeah.
between a few guys this year. Because I think if Ohtani's running like that and Pete Alonso and Soto and maybe Vladdy Jr., we could get one of those, late 90s, how many guys are going to hit 60 kind of deals.
That would be sick. I think there kind of was that feeling a little bit last year with Vladdy and Ohtani because they were kind of neck and neck for like the majority of the year. But yes, that would be super epic. And obviously having Ohtani versus Soto in the home run derby last year was pretty epic as well.
Soto in the second half had a .348 batting average, 1164 OPS. He had 18 home runs.
Yes, that's why at the end of the year we were like, is it Soto or is it Harper?
Yeah.
Because Soto came on in a big way. So yeah, I'm down. We'll start the Soto watch and Ohtani watch, and we'll keep her going.
Love
keep
it.
her going all season.
Love it.
Obviously today's opening day. Very exciting. Dennis.
We've got a new segment, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we do.
We've got a new segment going on, and we're gonna bring you guys over, and you're gonna get to meet our betting expert. Welcome to Boba Betts.
Woo!
I wouldn't call myself an expert. However, we have, speaking of Ohtani Watch, a Showtime odds boost tonight. It's a promo on DraftKings, plus 700 if he gets 5 Ks and a home run tonight. So I put $20 down on that.
Nice.
You threw the 20 on it?
Yep.
Big
I think
dollars.
that's a good call.
I like that.
And then, obviously, by the time people listen to this, they won't be able to do the opening day stuff with me. I just figured
Maybe.
I'd give,
You never know.
give an idea as to what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I went with a parlay of every game except for the Mets game because for some reason it didn't populate on mine. I had the Brewers, Royals, Cardinals, Reds, Padres, and Astros all winning. That's going to be plus 43.57, and I put $10 down on that. Hope for the best. See what it goes.
On that plus 4,357, what do you win on a $10 bet?
I don't have it in front of me, but somewhere around like the $400 range it'll wind up being.
That's a fantastic return for minimal investment.
Yes.
So Boba Betts, is there any other place that I should be putting my money right now?
Well, we've already talked about Blue Jays as a futures for the World Series. I like that a lot. I got it at plus 1,200. I think it's down to like plus 600 or 700 now, so they just keep going up and up and up. I haven't looked too far into the weekend stuff, but stay tuned on TikTok because this will be more of a TikTok thing as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Boba. We appreciate you.
We'll see you next week, Boba.
I love having a segment for us where we can get into some stuff. We had the Ohtani Watch.
Yes.
I'm happy that we now have Boba Betts. I feel bad that he kicks Dennis out of his seat so that he can give his predictions.
I know,
but,
it's disrespectful. We gotta give him his own seat.
At
He was
least,
supposed to rule with respect, and now he's kicking me out of my own chair.
typical mercenary.
Yep. But yeah, I think we're gonna get into some more segments this year and kind of our podcast is ever changing. Everyone who's been listening in the last year has
Super
gotten,
appreciate you.
Yes, we got a lot of good stuff coming this year. I think it's gonna be very exciting, and I think it's gonna be a lot of wild cards. Honestly, I think that there's gonna be a lot of stuff that, as much as we've predicted different things, and that every team has a lot of potential. So I think there's going to be some stuff that we don't see coming, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Like what? What's your super hot take? And I'll start off. We all know my super hot take.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw it out here. 5 New York Mets players hit 30 home runs.
Okay.
Now, who are my 5? Lindor hits 30.
Yeah.
Escobar hits 30. Pete Alonso hits 30. I believe that Dom Smith hits 30. My wild card in this entire thing is who is the fifth player? I don't know yet.
So say Dom, Lindor,
Pete. Escobar, and Pete.
Who's your fourth?
Who's my fifth?
Fifth.
So my fifth, truly, if I had the combination, this is why I think that he'll hit 30. My person is Brandon Nimmo.
Really?
and my reason for it being Brandon Nimmo.
Has he ever hit 20?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe. Possibly not.
I'm on it.
Dennis is pulling it up.
So the reason why it's Brandon Nimmo is I think the most at-bats that Nimmo ever had in a season was 535 at-bats. Or plate appearances. Mm-hmm. Only 433 at-bats. Because he's either been hurt or he wasn't getting full-time. No, the most amount of home runs he's ever hit in a season is 17. So hear me out.
Okay.
That season, though, he was an 886 OPS. And with that season, he also hit 28 doubles. Now, there is a player, right, who used to play for the Mets. And he was a fantastic player. But his power just didn't really come through for the Mets. He was, low double digits, 12 home runs, 13 home runs. One year he had 14 home runs. But in between there, he had 9, 6, 6, 2. But then at age 31, he hit 25 home runs and 47 doubles later in his career. Why did he do that? Well, he learned some things about his swing. He started to focus on some other stuff. He got some health. He got some better experience. I'm talking about Daniel Murphy. I think that Nimmo and Murphy are very close comparably. Mm-hmm. The reason why I think that Nimmo is going to have a power surge, though, is because of where the lineup that he's in. If you've got that many guys hitting home runs, it becomes contagious, right? And it starts to lift. And I could see that he's going to be a guy who flirts with the 30 mark this year. And the last little caveat to it, is this a free agency year for him?
I suppose it is.
Sure enough is. He is a free agent after this year. So if the Mets want to get him back on the team, they're going to have to shell out for that guy. So my thing is, going into that offseason, a team that's going to be winning, he's going to have some fun games. There's going to be some stuff in there. He might have a shot at being at the top of the lineup on a consistent basis, covered with protection. Mm-hmm. Nimmo, I think, ends up hitting close to 30 home runs.
Interesting. It's an interesting take.
And that's my hot take. Again, this is something that I don't actually look at and go, man, high probability I'd put all my money on the line for it, but I don't think it's impossible. And in fact, I think that it's more than likely going to happen.
Okay. I like that. I like it.
What's your hot take?
I'm trying to conjure one up.
Dietz, you got a hot take for me?
I'm just going to go based off of yours because this was a discussion that when you brought this to the table, the Yankees will hit more home runs than the Mets will this year.
Is that a hot take, though?
I don't think so.
That's a prediction. I don't know if that's a hot take.
Fair enough.
I think that everybody expects them to do it right now.
Okay, so we'll get spicier. Give me a minute.
Okay. All right, I'll go a little bit lighter. I think the San Francisco Giants, I know we talk about them a lot.
Oh, don't do it.
No, I'm not going to do something crazy. Relax. I think they will be in very close competition for the West.
Okay.
I think a lot closer than we're assuming they will be, because obviously last year was just insane that, like, pretty much their entire roster had the best season they'd ever had, and it was just like this perfect, like, magic of how did they do this.
Okay.
I think they still have a pretty solid lineup, and I actually think they're, after looking into them a little bit more, I think they're going to be more competitive than we feel like they're going to be.
I don't think that they're not going to be competitive. Again, I look at the Dodgers, and I just don't know if anybody can come close to them. And then at the flip side, I feel like everything that can go wrong has gone wrong for the Padres.
Yes, but also now they're going to get Tatis back in the middle of the season instead of. I'm curious. I'm going to put some notes in here and keep track of the early season injuries and then see where the teams end up. So, like, the Red Sox, how good is Chris Sale going to be in 3 months? The Padres, the Astros, like, all these teams are potential contenders.
Yeah.
So it's like, how much is these players coming back going to impact them halfway through the season?
Yeah. Again, and that's for me an interesting thing for our Mets is, Tyler McGill. He's popping off. First half, when he first came into the league, he was striking out 13 people per 9 innings, right? He had a 3.5 ERA in his first 4 starts. Second half, he had some ups and downs. He had some amazing months, though, and his month of July, he was very, very good. He had a 1.04 ERA in 5 starts. He's an interesting case. I think that's the thing is, like, who's somebody that nobody talks about that's going to pop off? Give me something that no one really expects.
Would it be ridiculous to say that Clayton Kershaw has a possible Cy Young year?
Yes, so that's a great one. I love that one, right? Nobody's saying that that's something that could happen, but would anybody really be shocked if he does?
Yes and no, because I know the Kershaw's getting old narrative is definitely a thing. He was hurt at the end of last year, wasn't available in the playoffs. But he looks filthy in spring training.
Yep.
Like prime Kershaw, his velo's there, and his off-speed's always been ridiculous.
And think about him last year, right? In his, like, down year, he had a 3.55 ERA in 22 starts.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't really think he's fallen off. Maybe a little compared to his one whatever MVP season.
Yeah, I love that take. I could absolutely see that happening. Do we expect it? No. But could he do it? Yeah.
Yeah, and he's not the number 1 anymore. He's got Walker Buehler ahead of him, who's just as good. I think he's going to surprise some people this year, as long as he stays healthy.
I love that take. Again, the last 2 years, he's made what is a single year of starts. Right?
Yeah.
He made 32 starts the last 2 years. I can't just hold that against him, right? The 1 year he had a 2.1 ERA. Yeah, it was the shortened 2020 season, but he was a 2.1 ERA. It's not like he was some bum.
And what, probably like 12 starts?
And 10 starts.
10 starts, yeah.
And then you look at last year and he makes 22, and it's like, okay, like, yeah, he's 33, but, like, that's not your finished. And look at what Scherzer does, and look what all these guys. And, like, I don't think that Kershaw has gotten by with being a dominating velo guy in a while.
Yep.
Right? His stuff is just, he knows how to pitch and work around guys, and he's got enough. And you know what he kind of reminds me of? The Mets version of Pedro Martinez. Right? Like, you're no longer getting by with this. You're getting by with the nasty curveball, the off-speed stuff, placement, guile, and just knowing how to get it done.
Yep.
I think that's a great hot take. That's a great hot take.
Deets, you got one?
All right, so I might go too spicy with this one.
Oh, get it.
Spice me up, baby.
Cayenne pepper.
Albert Pujols is going to hit 35 home runs.
Wow!
Hello.
Wow!
Hello.
Whoa!
He's 21 away from 700, and I think that is something that means a lot to him. So I think this offseason is going to rejuvenate him as a player, even though he's definitely up there in age. But also coming back to St. Louis, I think that's just going to be a big thing, being with Yachty again, being in front of that crowd that he, was a great player half of his career in St. Louis. So he might not be the same player, but I think he's still got some pop in him, and let's see him. Let's see if he does it.
Well, so let's break that down. Let's unpack that idea. Last year, after he got moved to the Dodgers, right?
12 home runs in 85 games.
759 OPS, right? The 2020 season is an anomaly for pretty much everybody, so it's hard for us to look at it, right? Who knows what he was dealing with? Who knows what's going on? So we go back to the 2019 season with LA. He got 545 plate appearances. He got 491 at bats. That season, he hit 23 home runs. Dennis, I don't think it's crazy. He's going to get to DH, right?
He will be DHing only.
He will get to DH. You're right. I think this is a last hurrah. Get in shape. Focus up, mash, and go after. I think that's a great hot take.
So you said 35?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think 30 would have been like.
30 would have been a good line.
Yes.
Yes.
I would have been like 30 is a great line. 35 is probably where I get aggressive, but I'll
that's the heat in his take.
I'll do that's the heat in your take.
Yes.
I'll put a hedge on that. And I'll say that's a podcast take. I love that take.
Okay.
I think that
so we'll add it to our curriculars.
That's going to our
extracurriculars.
Like once a month we got to do the Pujols watch.
All right.
And we got to see how he's trending towards 30 home runs.
I'm down. So we got a Pujols check. We got an Ohtani watch. and we got a Soto watch, just for starters, right? And then we'll keep building on them as we go through.
Keep
the
building
season.
on them. Is there? Oh well, we also got my 5.
Oh yes,
Mets 30 home runs takes, and
Mets
we got
homers.
the Kershaw check-in.
Kershaw. Oh yes, I love this. I love all this. Well, it's gonna be Mets versus Yankees if we're being honest, because we have the bet with Josh.
Yes.
What was the stakes on that bet? Was there any?
Top 5 players on each team who hits more home runs.
Okay,
I think that's what it was.
gotcha.
Oh no, it was Mets hit more home runs than the Yankees.
Okay,
Just in
I
totality.
think we wound up doing top 5 because it made more sense that way.
right. That's why you were trying to list your 5. That
No,
makes
my
more
5
sense.
was the first thing. Then he was saying the Yankees. I was like, dude, I said last year I thought they'll hit more home runs.
Who would the Yankees 5 be for you?
Stanton,
Yep.
Judge, Donaldson, Gallo, and
I could see Rizzo with the
I can
short
see
porch.
Riz. Yeah.
could you?
Yeah.
You think Rizzo's their next pop?
What's Riz been averaging home runs wise? Do you can you pull that up?
Yep.
But I think
He hit
it's-
22 last year in totality. The last time he hit 32 was 2017. He was 25 in 2018, 27 in 2019, 22 last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this will be his age 32 season.
maybe he tries to adjust a little bit and make more use of that short porch. I
The-
mean, he's been in Chicago. He hasn't had that.
The other thing, too, is in 49 games last year with the Yankees, he hit 8 home runs versus 92 games with the Cubs. He had 14, so he was outpacing what he was doing with the Cubs when he was with the Yankees.
Yeah, but
Okay.
his OPS was down.
Yeah, but it's not the end-all, be-all. We've seen people have lower OPS seasons and also have high home run totals just because they don't get doubles.
For sure, but then that's my point. He was hitting more doubles when he was in Chicago. He got the short porch benefit he got with the 8 home runs was there. And again, I think that's where I would say yes, I'm with you on the home run numbers. Yeah, I could go with Rizzo being the guy. I could go with Rizzo being the guy
I like that.
for sure. And again, like we line it up, right? And this is where we go back and forth, right? Who's the top home run hitter for each of those teams? We think Judge or Stanton hits more. I said Stanton.
Yeah, I think Stanton.
But I think Pete
I could
beats,
rock with Judge.
But I think Pete beats out Stanton. I think Pete ends up
don't know.
hitting more home runs this year.
I don't know. Stanton plays in smaller yards.
Stanton plays in less games.
Maybe. But
Last
they
year-
didn't
last
have
year,
Gallo until the second half.
Last year, Stanton got 510 at bats, hit 35 home runs. So he hit less home runs than Pete last year,
Okay. What did Pete have? 37?
37. And we all know Pete slumped almost the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Like he turned it on like post All-Star game.
Yeah. After his home run derby, yeah.
After his home run derby,
I hope
he
he's
found
having a
himself
secret
again.
one he might have had one yesterday just for fun, just to get himself locked in. I hope he did.
Yeah, Pete hit 37 home runs and had a 4.2 WAR. And that's again. So I'm gonna go with the number 1 guy. And so on the Mets, the number 2 guy is a Yankee. It'll be Judge. If it's not Stanton, it's Judge. If it's not Judge, I think both guys lose to Pete, but both guys beat the Mets' next best home run hitter, right? But then to me it starts to become the tricky situation. Who's the third guy
For what?
for the Yankees? Who do we think hits the third most home runs?
Donaldson, yeah.
Okay.
But the caveat with Donaldson is he's so injury prone.
So again, and he hit 26 home runs
And they're
last
asking
year.
him to be their starting third baseman all the time.
He hit 26 home runs last year, and that is less than Escobar.
In how many games?
457 at bats.
Okay. So that's how many games?
I don't know.
Oh, it
I'm
doesn't
going.
say on that.
I'm going because I'm looking. Escobar had 549 at bats. And Donaldson had 457. So he had 100 more at bats and only 2 more home runs.
Donaldson did?
No,
Or Escobar.
Escobar had 2 more home runs, but he also had
All right, he played 130
100 more
games last year.
100 more at bats.
I think the Yankees would be super happy if he played 130.
And to me, I think the Mets' third guy is going to end up being Dom Smith. I think Dom hits the third most.
Who do you have as second?
Second, I think is Lindor.
Okay.
I think Lindor
I
absolutely
think
smacks the ball.
specifically because of a number of games played. I think they're going to end up being close.
Sure, I don't think it'll be far off, and that's my point. It starts to become the chicken or the egg. Who do you choose, right? I think that we're going to see somewhere in the ballpark of 35 to 40 home runs for Lindor. I think Frankie is ready to tear. And the second half, he hit a lot more, and he finished with 20, and he batted like 108 for part of the season. So that's where I'm going. Again, I like the hot takes. What everybody thought was a hot take last year when I was like, Ohtani's going to have the greatest season in the history of the league. We were right. You heard it here first. What's your guys' hot takes? What do you guys think is going to happen? Tell us in the comments. Remember, like and subscribe. We appreciate all you guys. I'm ready for an amazing season.
2022 season. Let's go.
Let's go. See you next time.
Later.
Baseball lifestyle, it's my lifestyle.